China boasts the most expansive and rapidly developed high-speed rail system on the planet, stretching across more than 19,000 miles. The majority of this vast network has taken shape in just the past 10 years. In comparison, Japan has operated its renowned bullet trains since the middle of the 20th century. These trains, capable of reaching speeds close to 200 miles per hour, have safely transported over 9 billion passengers without a single fatal accident. The introduction of high-speed rail in France in the early 1980s set off a wave of similar projects across Europe. Since then, the technology has spread globally, with countries like India, Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iran, and Morocco embracing high-speed rail as a key component of their transportation infrastructure. Meanwhile, the United States tells a different story. Once a world leader in rail travel, the country underwent a dramatic shift following the Second World War. Before 1945, the United States possessed an extensive and efficient railway system. However, major corporations in the automobile and oil industries saw greater economic potential in cars. They played an active role in sidelining rail transport, dismantling streetcar systems across the nation within a decade. Companies such as General Motors, Firestone Tire, and Standard Oil worked together to phase out rail in favor of roads. Streetcar tracks embedded in urban landscapes were ripped up, making way for smooth roads designed for motor vehicles. The federal government reinforced this shift in the middle of the 20th century. In the 1950s, President Dwight Eisenhower signed legislation that committed approximately $25 billion to the construction of an interstate highway system spanning 41,000 miles. The federal government shouldered 90% of the cost, while state governments covered the remaining 10%. This massive investment solidified America's dependence on cars, steering the country away from rail-based travel. By the 1960s, automobiles dominated American life, and efforts to expand passenger rail networks largely disappeared. The influence of powerful industry lobbies in oil, automotive manufacturing, and aviation further cemented this trajectory. The statistics paint a clear picture. The United States has an average of 850 cars per 1,000 people, whereas China has only 250 per 1,000. Despite the stark contrast, the American preference for cars has remained largely unchanged. However, this reliance on automobiles has come at a cost. Many states now face overwhelming traffic congestion, limited space for new roads, and overcrowded airports. Some transportation experts argue that the country is reaching a breaking point. Expanding highways and airports is proving increasingly impractical, leaving rail as one of the few viable solutions. Electrified high-speed rail presents an opportunity to reduce pollution by shifting travelers away from cars and planes. A case study in Spain demonstrates this effect. When a high-speed rail line connected Madrid and Barcelona, air travel between the two cities dropped dramatically as passengers opted for a faster, more comfortable train journey. Studies indicate that when high-speed rail services are available and efficient, they capture between 80 and 90% of the market share for trips lasting under 4 hours. A survey revealed that 63% of Americans would use high-speed rail if given the option, with younger generations showing even stronger enthusiasm. At present, the only significant passenger rail operator in the United States is Amtrak, a for-profit company with the federal government as its majority shareholder. While high-speed rail is generally defined as trains traveling faster than 110 to 150 miles per hour, Amtrak has just one route that meets this standard. The Isla Line, operating in the Northeast Corridor between Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston, reaches speeds of up to 150 miles per hour. However, the train only maintains this top speed for a mere 34 miles of its 457-mile route. Its average speed between New York and Boston is just 65 miles per hour, a stark contrast to China's dedicated high-speed work, where trains routinely exceed 200 miles per hour. Efforts to modernize American rail transport have faced significant challenges. In 2008, California voters approved the construction of a high-speed rail line. Over 10 years later, construction is underway with a 119-mile segment currently in development in the Central Valley. The larger vision involves a 520-mile connection between San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Anaheim. However, the project is currently short by nearly $50 billion, leaving its future uncertain. The overall cost estimate now exceeds $77 billion, and the source of funding remains unclear. One of the primary reasons for the high cost of rail construction in California is the complex geography. Unlike the relatively flat terrain of eastern China or Japan's Shinkansen routes, California's landscape presents obstacles such as mountain ranges and earthquake-prone zones. Tunneling through areas like the Tehachapi Mountains and Pacheco Pass requires expensive engineering solutions. Additionally, regulatory processes add further delays and expenses. Environmental reviews, land acquisition negotiations, and utility relocations all contribute to the ballooning budget. For example, relocating just 2 miles of freeway for the rail project cost approximately $150 million per mile. Infrastructure costs in the United States are notably high across the board. Freeway construction typically costs between $5 million and $10 million per mile, but expenses can soar to $100 or even $200 million per mile when additional factors such as seismic reinforcements and land acquisitions are considered. High-speed rail projects tend to fall within a range of $20 million to $80 million per mile. The root cause of these high costs is often debated, but bureaucratic hurdles and fragmented decision-making processes certainly play a role. A lack of political commitment remains one of the biggest obstacles to high-speed rail development in the United States. Unlike nations where central governments prioritize rail investment, the American political landscape is divided on the issue. Some Republican lawmakers argue that high-speed rail is unnecessary government spending, while others associate it with European-style policies that they view as incompatible with American values. Conversely, Democratic politicians tend to support rail investment, though securing funding has proven difficult. Some private companies are stepping in to fill the gap. Texas Central, a privately funded initiative, aims to construct a high-speed rail between Houston and Dallas without relying on taxpayer money. The proposed service would reduce a journey that typically takes 4 hours by car to just 90 minutes by train. The company plans to use proven Japanese rail technology and aims to complete the project by the middle of the 2020s. Meanwhile, Florida has seen progress with its own rail system. A private company has expanded a higher-speed train service linking Miami and Orlando. This project, initially branded as Brightline and later rebranded under the Virgin Trains name, has attracted significant investment. Unlike traditional high-speed rail, the Florida project prioritizes affordability over maximum speed, avoiding costly infrastructure such as elevated tracks. Technology firms are also showing interest in rail initiatives. Microsoft has invested $300,000 into research for a high-speed rail corridor connecting Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. The company sees rail as a solution to urban congestion and unaffordable housing, problems that affect major tech hubs across the country. While private investment has accelerated some projects, government involvement remains crucial. Private ventures must still navigate regulatory requirements, environmental reviews, and labor laws. However, these companies may have an advantage in bypassing political deadlock and moving projects forward more quickly than state-funded initiatives. The future of high-speed rail in the United States remains uncertain. Some believe the country is on the verge of a rail revolution, citing ongoing projects and growing public support. Others remain skeptical, pointing to political gridlock, funding shortages, and high construction costs. If the United States is to catch up with the rest of the world, it will require a level of commitment similar to the post-war interstate highway expansion, a vision that, for now, seems out of reach.